As we continue to get reaction to the shooting incidents in Soweto and Pietermaritzburg this morning, they killed at least 19 people. We get more reaction then, and we're joined via Zoom by Reverend Mzwandile Molo from the South African Council of Churches. A very good afternoon to you, Rev. Thanks so very much for joining us here on SABC News.
Afternoon, Flo, and afternoon to the viewers and all South Africans.
Yeah, let's get your reaction then on the fact that we wake up to hear that there's been these shootings, 19 people in total losing their lives at taverns and two separate incidents. What are your thoughts? And surely, of course, you're condemning, as have many people. But what do you say to this? I mean, I think it's also time for us to also start having serious conversations about what's happening in our country. We are in some sort of crisis, aren't we?
The immediate shock, the immediate response flow is one of shock.
Yeah.
And a deep sense of sadness to wake up on this Sunday morning and receive this news where life was wantonly taken away by people who deliberately went into spaces where our people are seeking to find ways to enjoy themselves, and open shooting to people randomly without regard to life, without regard to their safety, and kill 19 people throughout, and in Soweto go in there and just shoot to kill 13 people, and indeed in Katlehong get to kill the 2 people and the 4 in Pietermaritzburg. It's really, really a saddening and indeed a highly and fundamentally destructive experience for the country. A country, Flo, that has just been trying to make sense of what it is to lose a minimum of 21 young people from Enyobeni who were enjoying themselves in Enyobeni, and to come to this just less than 4 or 5 days or so for people, for us as the country to be gripped with this one-time and callous act of killing. It is fundamentally wrong. It's unacceptable for any country. But more than anything else, it speaks to the soul of the nation that has no respect for human life, no respect for human dignity. And as we condemn those who perpetrate these callous acts, we have to look at ourselves in the mirror as a country and ask the question, what kind of society are we that we're able to produce these people who can come and kill people wantonly without any regard to people's lives and security?
Yeah. Rev, I would imagine, as a church leader yourself, that you're not particularly for taverns to begin with. But of course, you do know, rightly so, that, that is the reality, that people do indeed go to establishments like taverns to go and enjoy themselves. Bearing that in mind, what do you then say, on the back of that, knowing that, all right, people do generally go to taverns, but in terms of, the safety and also the main issue, that being of crime and lawlessness in the country, as a church person, what would you say to that? And does it talk to the total sort of decay of the society, of the country? I mean, you talk about what happened in East London, in Enyobeni Tavern, where we're talking about youths. I mean, the youngest being 13 years old, being at a tavern. And that, does paint a strong picture of the decay of our society, really. What do you say as a church leader to that, and the cause of that, I'd say, moral decay then?
The truth is, Flo, as a country, we are facing a deep challenge around the abuse of alcohol and substance abuse. As a country, we need to find an answer to allowing ourselves to have a grip and a control of how our people socialize in a manner that is respectful for their own dignity, that is good for their own health, that's also conducive to social cohesion. Therefore, we must face the truth that says alcohol abuse is a challenge for the country. And all of us, from churches, from schools, from communities, have to put our shoulders to the wheel into trying to answer the question, how best do we create a society where enjoyment does not lead to destruction? Having said all of that, Flo, the killing of any person cannot be justified. And therefore, those who deliberately target these places are targeting not only the individuals that they've killed, they are targeting the fabric of us as a country. And therefore, they deliberately go to these places and kill 19 people in one evening. And what we need to realize as a country is we are facing a very difficult precipice that if we are not able to control of it and come back to where we should be as a society, we are going to find a society that is uncontrollable. Because when lawlessness takes root, when the people who are responsible for a myriad of criminal activities are not held accountable, when the police service of this country is unable to respond quickly to the need to secure and protect our people, we run the risk then of criminals thinking they can get away with anything. And even those who have done this now, they believe that they will get away with it. The first step that we need to do as a country, it is to stop the culture of impunity. We therefore need to work with the police in those communities, in Soweto, in Pietermaritzburg, in Katlehong, to give them the best cooperation we can give them in order for them to arrest these people who are responsible. To ask of the police, once these people are arrested, the dockets and the investigation will be done with credibility, with a sense of making sure that once that investigation is done, they are presented to the NPA, and the NPA prosecutes to the best of their ability according to all the laws of the country. And those who are magistrates and judges are held accountable into their sentencing, so that those who do these things are able to know that in South Africa, you cannot get away with lawlessness. The challenge we face is that many people see from a myriad of activities in this country that lawlessness pays. And because lawlessness pays, they're able then to do these things flow with this expectation that they will get away with it. We as the communities need to say to them, enough is enough. We will reach out, and then we will make sure that the police do their work, we cooperate with them, and we allow the justice system to do its work. As we do that flow,
let me bring another.
Then must enter into that difficult challenge.
Yeah. Let me bring another issue into our conversation then. I mean, looking at, what happened, at the Soweto shooting and around the circumstances around it now, there's some speculation that's going on right now as to, the fact that, what happened might have been due to foreign nationals, and some are blaming the fact that, we don't really have stringent measures when it comes to illegal foreigners, for example. Some community members, in fact, even raising the issue of tribalism and also the issue of xenophobia coming into the works. We're also in South Africa constantly dealing with the issue of racism. I mean, South Africa has a lot of things that we're already juggling and dealing with at the moment. What do you say when we're dealing with all these issues, which at the root is really, we're talking about hatred? And I think, as a church leader, perhaps you could weigh in on that, because I mean, the root cause of all of this at the end of the day is hate.
Flo, I would just want to appeal to all of us, and I hear the need to find for quick answers in a moment of strife and difficulty.
Yeah.
I would call upon all of us to resist the temptation to speculate to the point where our speculation becomes the narrative that explains these activities. I would call on all of us to work with the police so that evidence might emerge, and let that evidence tell us the reason why these things have happened and how these people decided to go and kill many of our people in these places like taverns, as we refer to. So I would say simply this: in terms of speculation, it is dangerous in the midst of high anger and the midst of pain for us to speculate and give explanations to things which we might not have evidence for. In the fundamental point you are raising about asking the question, what kind of a country are we that produces hate, whatever form that hate comes from, and that hate is displayed in the wanton taking of our lives? Indeed, The deep woundedness of the soul of this country needs attention, because in the woundedness that we have based on our past and our current difficulties, we are a wounded society that's unable to resolve our differences with the gift of conversation, with the gift of healing, with the gift of embrace. We as the church call upon our people, firstly our local church leaders, to reach out firstly to those families who have lost their loved ones. Reach out to them and convey our condolences and our prayers and our support. Secondly, to be at the forefront of dealing with the issues of healing and reconciliation in each localities, so that our people are able to heal from these wounds. But as you say, Flo, find a way to deal with the hate that might be within our soul and cleanse ourselves of hate and replace that hate with love that loves the neighbor, that loves the stranger, that loves those people that we do not know, even those people we might call enemies, because that's the compelling message of our faith, that any person who is a human being with God's dignity, that dignity is not destroyed by our hate for them, but we should always embrace and reach out to them to find their dignity and work with their dignity to build a different society.
All right, Reverend, thank you so very much for speaking to us.